Hey everybody, this is Jeff again from the Overwatch team. Really exciting update for today because we're going to talk about competitive play. This is one of the top requested features from the community. A lot of people were wondering, are we going to have something in by launch? Well, it's very exciting for us to put the competitive play into the beta so we can start seeing it, feeling it, and getting your feedback. So we want to give you kind of a broad overview of what it's going to be like, and then set your expectations in the right direction, because we're going to do some development on it now and test it in beta, but we have further plans for it in the future to make it even cooler. So here's what you're going to see in the beta immediately. First off, there will be, now under the play section, there will be a competitive play option next to the quick play option. This option unlocks for you when you're level 25. A lot of people are wondering, how do we come up with level 25 and why is it there? The thought was that level 25 is relatively easy and fast for players to achieve, but it's enough of a barrier to keep brand new players sort of out and away from the system. We understand that players who are playing competitive play are very serious about the experience and don't want to be matched with players who don't know the heroes or don't necessarily know the maps yet. So we felt like 25 was a pretty good compromise. The other big question that I'm sure a lot of you have is, is it single queue only? Is it group queue only? Because we've talked about a lot in the past. And the cool thing is we've come up with a system that's going to allow it to be any group size that you want, 1 through 6. So if you want to queue by yourself, we will match you with other players of similar skill. And if you want to group as 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or even 6, we'll accommodate that. And we'll do our best to put you against groups of equal sizes. And we think we have a pretty good system in place to ensure that that works and feels really good for everyone. So unlike quick play, competitive play is what we call a single match queue. So quick play will put you into a match, and the games will just kind of keep rolling until something happens that makes the players have to disperse and no longer play their matches. But it will be different for competitive play. So what will happen is you will queue up either by yourself or in a group. You will get put into a match, and if it's an attack-defend map, what we call Assault, or one of our payload maps, which we call Escort, you will play once as the attacker and once as a defender. And then afterwards, it will sort of resolve the match, and then it will be done. So what will happen is, let's take a escort map as an example. If you get placed on an escort map and your team wins as the attacker and wins as a defender, you're considered the winner. And I'll get more into what being the winner means in a little bit. If the other team wins on attack and wins on defense, you've lost. So that seems all pretty obvious. So what happens if you win on attack but then lose on defense? Probably a lot of you guys are wondering, how does that resolve itself? Well, in that case, the match will go to a sudden death overtime. Sudden death takes place on one of our control maps on a randomly selected point, but only on a single point. So you might end up on point 2 of Ilios, for example, where it will resolve a single point of sudden death overtime to determine the winner. We feel like this is a really exciting way to resolve the matches. A lot of people have asked us, why not stopwatch? Stopwatch is something we're very familiar with. For those of you who aren't familiar with stopwatch, what it refers to is one team winning or taking a certain objective, and then another team having to do the same within that time or better. And the reason we've sort of steered away from stopwatches as being our competitive format is we really like seeing matches played through until the end. We feel like there's a lot of fun, cool competitive gameplay that happens in moments like, for example, on Watchpoint Gibraltar, watching a team defend the final payload approach where the rocket ship is. It can be very fun and exciting. And it's sort of anticlimactic watching a lot of stopwatch matches where a match will resolve, sort of in the middle of the map in a place that doesn't always make a lot of sense. And it feels like it kind of skews the mechanics as well a little bit to us. The other thing is, for viewers, it can also be very confusing what's going on. And we sort of want to see matches played to completion. So that's why we've chosen this format. The other question you probably have at this point is, well, what happens to the control maps? So control maps, we're trying an experiment. If it doesn't feel good or if it feels off in some way, we have some other ideas. But for control maps, we're going to try a 3 out of 5 system rather than a 2 out of 3 system. So that means you will play some of the same points more than once on a control map. And the reason for this, the reason for 3 out of 5, is to try to match the time commitment that a mirror match of, let's say, escort or assault would take. So those are some changes to how the matches will work in competitive play. Now, more important to a lot of you guys is, well, what about progression and how does progression work? So there's a really cool system in place. It's similar to a lot of other competitive systems that are out there. We spent a lot of time examining the competitive systems that you guys referred to us, as well as all the competitive systems from previous Blizzard games. And what we've come up with is a system where there are 5 tiers. And tier is kind of an arbitrary word, so let me explain it a little bit better to you. The 5 tiers are called Challenger, Advanced, Expert, Master, and Heroic. Within each of the tiers, with the exception of Heroic, which I'll get a little bit more into in a second, within each of the tiers, there are 5 divisions. So it goes from Division 1 to Division 5, Division 5 being the most prestigious. So everybody will start out, if you've never played Overwatch competitive play before, you will start out as a Division 1 Challenger. And your goal there is to sort of work yourself all the way to the next tier, which in this case would be Advanced. And the way you do that is through advancing through the divisions, Division 1 to 2 to 3, etc. The cool part about the Challenger tier is you can't lose any points. So when you win matches, like I said previously, you're earning or losing points. Except if you're a Challenger, you don't lose points. So you can only positively progress out of Challenger. Now, things get more difficult as you get into the other tiers. So in Advance, you can actually fall back into Challenger. Or if you're an Expert Division 1 and you lose enough, you can fall back into Advance, for example. So it does become more competitive and more difficult to work your way up the ladder as you get further along in the system. Now, Heroic is different. Heroic does not contain 5 divisions like the other tiers do. Heroic is more similar to use an example that some of you will know, Hearthstone Legendary. Once you get to Heroic, our plan is to show you your actual rank against all of the other Heroic players. So really the best players in the world will be Heroic players, and you'll see an actual rank number for them and where they stand in the world. Now, in the first iteration of competitive play that you guys are seeing or getting to experience right now in Overwatch, Heroic is just going to be a tier unto itself, and we're not going to show the ranks just yet. We feel like there's a lot of tuning and balancing that we need to do before we really start that rank system. So we sort of want to get something out there that you can wrap your head around. We want to make sure that the match format is feeling good, that the queue times are working correctly, that the match times are working correctly. As we get deeper into the system, either approaching launch or post-launch, we're going to make Heroic available in terms of its ranks. You can get to Heroic now, you just won't be able to see your ranks. Kind of segueing, at first, because we're in beta, we're not going to run actual seasons yet. We're going to call it preseason for some time, and preseason might even expand past the beta period. We might even roll a couple of months of the live game in what we call preseason to make sure that the system is right. And preseason basically will function just like the actual game will. We're just making sure that things feel right, and we're doing tuning and iteration. When the game goes live, the plan is to do 1-month seasons starting on the first of every month. So it'll be very understandable, how to climb the ladder and when to do it. You're going to always be looking forward to that first of the month because you'll always have a chance to sort of level up and re-go through the competitive system. In beta, we're going to do some different things. The pre-seasons, we need to do testing. So we're going to do them faster than a month. We might have one that runs longer than a month. We're going to be experimenting with timeframes in the beta that are not accurate to what our actual plans are. So you should sort of prepare yourself for that. And the final thing I wanted to touch on was rewards, because we know, players are looking for different sort of motivations to do things like competitive play. It's very important for me to get this out there early to you guys. Competitive play is not supposed to be about rewards. The competitive play in and of itself should be rewarding. The types of players that are drawn to these systems are more there for the really healthy competition against one another and seeing their standing against other players. So when it comes to rewards, we want to make sure that they are light and cosmetic only. And in the early preseasons in the beta, we don't plan to give out any rewards. We just want people testing the system for the sake of testing the system, and not necessarily drawing players who really don't necessarily want to be in a competitive system there through rewards. But really critical for everybody to understand, we wouldn't be giving any sort of power gain or any rewards long term once we do add the rewards to the competitive system. They'll be light, they'll be cosmetic, but they'll be cool. So we'll be working on that. You probably have a lot more questions. I know that there's more to the system and a lot more details that I didn't get into right now. What we're going to do, there was a really great designer named Scott who worked on this system. He and I will both be answering as many questions as we can on the forums. We'll be talking to you guys. We'll be listening to your feedback. And then we'll really be watching how players approach competitive play in the beta to define what competitive play means when the game goes live. We really appreciate how invested you guys were. We appreciate that you pushed us to get this system in by launch, and we're excited to deliver it for you guys. You stated how important it was to you, and it was important to us to get it in for that reason. We want to hear what you say, so please leave feedback. We're paying attention to the community, and we really look forward to seeing what you guys do with this system. Thanks, everyone.